the Grail message in the light of truth by Abrushin. I'm Saad in southeast London, and very shortly with me will be Gregory. Just waiting to connect with Gregory. So every week in the show we have a new topic for discussion. The topic tonight is truth is objective. Truth is objective. That's the topic for tonight. I've got Gregory with me now. Welcome, Gregory. How are you doing, and how is the weather where you are?
It's fine. It's cold and dark.
Okay, good. There's a slight echo in where you are, and you seem to be a little bit distance away. So
No, I have adjusted it.
Oh, brilliant. Very good. So, yes, listeners, that's Gregory. He's in a cold, dark place. I am in London, in southeast London. I could say right now it is also cold and dark. Earlier in the day we did have sunshine. I could call it a little bit chilly, but better than the previous week when we had some Arctic winds blowing around. So it's a little warmer than that. It's a positive plus temperature, not minus. That's the good news. So welcome, listeners. As I said, the aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Abrushin. And every week we have a new topic for discussion. The topic tonight is truth is objective. And we invite everyone to join in with their questions or comments. You can contact us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting. That is blessradio1, that's the number 1.com. If you scroll down, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. I'm going to begin with, what is the Grail message? The Grail message in the light of truth by Abrushin is a spiritual knowledge of life. It offers an explanation of the world, a picture of creation on the basis of natural laws. Its lectures contain valuable basic elements as a help in life, for through the knowledge mediated, the reader is again brought closer to life and led back to God. The Grail message deals with important fundamental questions of life by explaining in a clear and logical way the automatic working of the laws of nature, the whole weaving of creation, allowing every process to be recognized and thereby the purpose of our whole life. It is directed at the individual and speaks to the innate experiences of the human being, their strengths and weaknesses. Thus, every reader has the opportunity to discover through the intuitive perception if what is stated is the truth. Combining with matter-of-fact reasoning, a complete world picture arises, where there is no separation between the visible world and the great world beyond the five senses, nor any separation between scientific and religious striving for knowledge. I'd like to give you a couple of quotes from the author of the Grail message, Abrushin. The hearer and reader of my lectures should always work within himself, keenly probing and building bridges from one lecture to the other, as well as out into the great and small world happenings. Only then will he be able to understand the Grail message and find that it gradually shapes itself into one complete whole, without leaving any gaps. Again and again, in all the happenings, the reader will come back to the basic features. He can explain everything without having to change even one single sentence. The word of the Grail message lives, so that it permits only those people who really carry the honest desire in their souls to find abundantly. comments, you can contact us on our UK number. I'm going to say it this way: +44 79 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside, if the other way you can contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting, that is blessradio1, that's the number one, .com. If you scroll down on the homepage, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. And we are also broadcasting on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, that's the number one there, space, Grail message, space, truth is objective. That is the topic of our show tonight. And after the show, that's 8 p.m. UK time, you can listen to a recording of this show also on YouTube, typing the same words in the search box, which are Bless Radio 1, that's the number one, space, Grail message, space, truth is objective. And of course, you can listen to the recording of our previous shows also on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno. That's ZENO.FM/radio/Bless Radio 1. That's the number one there. Now, Gregory, there are times when, let's say, we suffer injustice or we see injustice and we want to have justice and we are feeling personally affected, or you could say emotional. So as I said, we're looking for justice. And it can be personal. Somebody close to us has been affected in whatever, suffered injustice, let's say, and we want the justice for them. And so we become emotional, which can be anger or whatever form it takes. Now, and people say, oh, we are looking for the truth. What happened here? Let's say it was a fire and there was some, let's say, carelessness in the maintenance of the building, or whatever it happens to be. And whoever suffered, or the people who have died, the relatives want their justice for that to be done. And they're looking for, well, they call it justice, and looking to know the truth, as they say, but however they are somehow affected, being emotional. So my question on that is, Gregory, when somebody's in such a state, are they able to be objectively looking for the truth, or getting justice? Because they're looking for justice, but sometimes the personal involvement makes the person, let's say, I use the word in quotes, biased rather than objective in their search for justice and truth.
In the earlier discussion, the mention was made of that which is the truth is independent of the individual. What the individual first wishes to establish are the facts. That is what really happened. Once what has happened is now established, subsequently, in many other cases, the motive behind it will be the other thing that is being searched for. only what has happened, which are the facts, and the motive behind it. When that is then considered, one may now say, fair enough, now I understand what happened, which are the facts, and why it happened. That is the motive behind it, the driving force. As to why things have to manifest to affect another individual, that is a different scenario that have to be considered with has to be considered in accordance with the laws of nature. However, when one is emotional, that means because one has suffered from what had happened, that individual is already standing on the pedestal of one-sidedness. If, however, the individual, if it's possible, to put aside the personal hurts and first try to establish what has happened and then why it has happened, maybe it will come to a better understanding. And such better understanding will help the individual to become more alert, to become more agile, to become more open to its environment, and that individual will then learn a lot. If, however, that is not the case, and once what is so-called justice, you will find that many a thing which would have been beneficial to that individual become lost to it because he is standing on a different ground, and that which would have helped it are then missed.
Thank you very much, Gregory, for this answer and explanation you've given there. Um, in a way, these things are very straightforward to understand, um, because we are looking in a logical way, objective way, um, you know, and calm way, uh, not in a personal way, like you've pointed out, uh, because when you put in your personal angle in there, it twists. Well, I don't know, twist maybe be the wrong word. It affects your interpretation um, in that way. So it's no more objective, you know. I mean, you can say all of this is common sense. However, we need to see these things the way they are, rather than, in quotes, our opinions, because uh, then we don't. Once we see it that way, then that's how you will understand it as well. And so we have to stand at a distance, you can say, to get, let's say, the correct picture. So thanks for that, Gregory. Now, I want to now look at some things, let's say, which people believe or have accepted. And the idea is to find the truth. What is the truth about that um, belief or concept that you have taken on? Is it really happen? Is that what happened? Let's say, or is that really correct? That concept or understanding, or is it not correct? So let me give an example now. Yeah. So let's say some people or Christians claim that Jesus died for our sins, and he took away our sins, you know, um, because he's the Son of God, and God sent Jesus for to save us. So let me repeat that, Gregory. So did Jesus? So Christians believe that, or many Christians believe that Jesus came to die for our sins and take our sins away, through his death or crucifixion on the cross, and uh, God sent him as his son to save us. So now, Gregory, that's the belief, let's say, or a claim. How can we know it's really true or not true?
That is not as challenging as it may sound, for the need is there to use what Christ Himself gave, what He gave in the Lord's Prayer, where He said, "Forgive us our trespasses, as we have forgiven those who trespass against us." That's already established, all right, the framework. So it means He Himself cannot take away your iniquities, but only through you yourself in your activities can you make amends in your iniquities. And that is why the Lord's Prayer is given, so that the individual must learn from that. Otherwise, He would not have given it. For that law of reciprocal activity, that law of the attraction of homogeneity, that is expressed in the Lord's Prayer, and it makes it very clear when one is open to using the Lord's Prayer. It gives the different parts. It is because in most cases, many do not even understand it right, and they are very quick, and in their indolence, they would want to give their personal tasks. They want to shift it to others so that others will do the work and they will do nothing. As with everything, the individual must weigh, must not only weigh, but examine. These processes of weighing and examining will present the individual a personal conviction, not only in deeds which are perceptible to the five senses, but also in thoughts, and above all, in one's intuitions. So, once the individual has come to that personal conviction in these areas, hopefully, when the Lord's Prayer is then considered, it will find that this is what Christ desired for the human spirit who is striving to live aright in creation, and therefore will not expect Christ to take upon one's misunderstanding and say, okay, fair enough, you are free to go. It is the individual that has bound itself through its wrongdoings, By wrongdoings, one is referring to the inner attitude of the individual. And therefore, it is the individual that will have to change.
Thanks a lot, Gregory. Um, you're basically um, pointing to our how we see life, from our point of view, and or have a belief or listen to people saying particular things, and which we maybe assume the, that is been given to us correctly, or and and we adopt it. And then if we don't, let's say, and then sometimes something happens where we think, is that really correct? And then that makes you wonder. And when you do assess it, we are told every week we read from the Grail message for your guidance, and we are told weigh and examine. But if we haven't weighed and examined, sometimes a shock comes, and then you are forced to weigh and examine. And then you think, oh, I was thinking that was correct or true. And then now it doesn't look right, it's true. It doesn't look like being true. And then that's where you wake up. So you could say, we say life is a journey, but in a way we don't want to have too much shocks. Uh, uh, but of course, according to the journey we have already been on, if we have made some, in quotes, wrong assumptions, or accepted some beliefs, let's say some things are wrong in it, then we get a few, let's say, shocks here and there, and that makes us rethink, is that right, what I was thinking, or accepted? So this is the things that we're talking in this topic tonight of truth is objective, asking everyone to look and examine what what they have been following, what they have accepted as truth. Is it really truth? Maybe it's not true, or partly it is true and partly there is something wrong there. So thanks again, Gregory. Another thing I want to, there's so many questions with this topic tonight, so I'm going to continue with that. Um, now, there's a big question, in a way I would say everybody asks, maybe not, let's say, very consciously most of the time, but, how did we come into being? We say we have been created, or that's why we have been told that we have been created, let's say, by the Creator. And then, but we also have science, and it tries to explain things. So let's say we know there's a story of creation. We have been created, it says there. Then in science, they discovered, let's say, evolution. And then one thinks, oh, that's not the same as being created. That's something different. One thing evolved into another. And science is, let's say, following what I'm pointing to, Gregory. Science is giving a logical process of explanation, what it is, how we came into being on this earth. And then we have a story, let's say, from scriptures, which given to us, saying this is how you came onto this earth. And then you find this as a creation, in quotes, versus evolution, conflict. Is it creation correct or true, or is the evolution science is putting forward correct? So, Gregory, again, how do we answer that one?
Very simply, it is the wrong inner attitude that has precipitated these challenges. The area of activities of so called science Um, Basically, in the outermost world of matter, which world of matter is perceptible to the five senses. So science is looking at the external manifestation in the world of matter, whereas in quotes that which has been considered so-called in the scriptures are basically snippets of that which is spiritual. And because many have not differentiated that which is of spirit to that which is of matter, they fuse everything together and therefore confusion comes in. When science speaks, it speaks of its own recognition as regards the outermost effects of the world of matter. That is basically what one may refer to as the biological, whereas what the person perceives externally is only the human body. That which activates, the spark that activates the physical body is not the physical body. That spark which activates the physical body, that spark is of spirit. That spirit in itself had an origin. That origin is in the spiritual realms. Thus is its origin, from which it started as a spiritual spark. That spiritual spark in its initial state is unconscious, is unaware of itself. So that is a starting point. For it to become aware of itself, it has to experience. So even that which is referred to as a spiritual spark, in order to become conscious in the first instance and subsequently to be self-conscious, one can already see that the change of state from that being unconscious to the gradual change to become conscious, that in itself is an evolution of the spirit spark. And subsequently, the continuous experiencing from the states of consciousness to the state of self-consciousness, that is another leg in the evolution of the spirit spark. So, when evolution is mentioned, the individuals must understand aright. Is it evolution of the spirit? Which spirit at the initial stage was unconscious, since at the initial stage it was unconscious, it means it's already there. It's already had been created. And subsequently, if it has to become self-conscious, it means there must be a gradual change of state internally in its intuitions until it becomes self-conscious. That is a final state of evolution. That is a state of spiritual evolution. That is different from the evolution which is discussed with the physical body. The physical body didn't just start from nowhere. Elements were brought together, united to become bigger molecules and giant molecules, and it goes on and on and on. You then had plants. Subsequently, you had animals, and subsequently, one can keep seeing how these things evolve from one state to the other. You now have that which is animistic. That means that which is permeated by the animal or by the forces of the animal. All this happening through nature. And then finally, the individual that wishes to experience and mature, the spirit spark that wishes to experience and mature, takes over that physical body which has been prepared, and in making use of it, refines it further and further. That in itself is evolution. Evolution of the physical body at a point. So many, when they talk about evolution or creation, it's understandable that they lack the correct understanding because they themselves cannot come to any conviction as to what it is, and simply because they themselves have not weighed, they themselves have not examined in accordance with the living laws of creation through which all that exists rests.
Thanks very much, Gregory, for this explanation, and again, the deeper picture you have shown us of the, you could say, the development of the human being, which is involving creation and evolution, but over, let's say, a wide uh, sphere. Not only this world of matter, the physical world that we are very familiar with, Earth and so on, and this physical universe, but also the spiritual world, which was there before this material world that we are very familiar with came into being. And that the journey of us being created and evolving covers all that area, you know, the spiritual down to this material world. And as you mentioned, some on the way, there's animistic world as well. It's everything. There's a logical process going on. And when we are given stories or science is investigating, they're only looking at a specific limited area without realizing that there's something beyond just that world that they're looking at. So they don't have that full picture, and then of course they will start making conclusion, and no surprise when it's incomplete or it goes astray to the reality. So yes, so thank you for that, Gregory. Dear listeners, I want to let you know that you're listening to Bless Radio, and this is the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail message by Abdushin. If you wish to know more about the Grail message or want to get a copy of the Grail message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic that we're discussing tonight is truth is objective. Truth is objective. If you have any questions or comments, you can contact us on our UK number, which I'll say it this way, +44 79 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And there's one other way to contact us, which is by going to the website where we are broadcasting, that is Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1.com. If you scroll down on the home page, you'll see a box called Bless Chat. There you can type in any questions or comments. We are also broadcasting on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1 again, space, Grail message, space, truth is objective. That is the topic of the show tonight. And then after the show, which ends at 8 p.m. UK time, you can listen to the recording of this show also on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box the same words as when we're live, that is Bless Radio 1, space, Grail message, space, truth is objective. And of course, you can listen to the recording of our previous shows also on YouTube. Thirdly, we are broadcasting on Zeno, that's ZENO.FM /radio/Bless Radio 1. That's the number 1 there. Now, Gregory, we've been mentioning the laws of nature, and basically what we have understood is we came through these laws of nature. Not only we, this whole creation also came into being through the laws of nature, and things happen within the laws of nature. You can't do anything outside of the laws of nature. We've already said earlier that there's no, how can I say, interference or outside things going on beyond these laws of nature. So if something's happening, it can be explained that by the laws of nature. So the next question then, Gregory, is what are these laws of nature?
Thanks for that particular question. It is simple and easy to understand that all that exists is in motion, whether it being those things which are perceptible to the five senses of the individual or not. All that one sees externally, perceived externally, these are in motion. So also are the thoughts of the individual. They are in motion. The intuition of the individual are also in motion. So all that exists must be in motion, even if the individual is unable to recognize it yet. Therefore, the basic perception, the basic understanding is that motion is a law in creation, it's a law in nature, whether we're able to perceive it or not. For even the simplest communication, this is an exercise in motion. Whatever the individual does is an exercise in motion. Moreover, all that exists. So the basic realization that motion is a law in creation is proper and it is right. Subsequently, one must ask, what type of motion are we referring to? There are only two types of motion, or whatever motion is out there that is being observed can be reduced to only two types. That means two categories. That motion in which the end of the motion flows back to the beginning, and the other type, that motion in which the end of the motion does not flow back to the beginning. Those are the basic two. Any other motion, no matter how complex, are reducible to these. That in which the end flows back to the beginning, one may also call it that of reciprocal activity. So there's the law of reciprocal activity. Again, one can also observe that the end flows back to the beginning only gives that strongest impression that there is an attraction. That is why the end had to flow back to the beginning. Otherwise, it would not have flown back to the beginning. And this end flowing back to the beginning only happens when we have similar or homogeneous species. So the individual can already see and can also verify for itself that there is the attraction of homogeneity. That attraction of homogeneity only happens within the same species. Only within the attraction of homogeneity do we have the completeness. For that happens when the union had to be formed. So, from one very simple observation, we have two very basic laws of creation, that of reciprocal activity and that of the attraction of homogeneity, the attraction of homogeneous species. What is being discussed here is only a token, much and much more, with deeper explanations, with pointers to deeds, with pointers to the thoughts and to one's intuition. The earnest individual who really seeks can find, or definitely will find it in the work, in the light of truth, the Grail message of Abraham. The other aspect in which the end does not flow back to the beginning, that already gives the strongest impression that that which is denser sinks, and that which is lighter floats. That notion already gives you what many refer to as gravitation. Whether it's considered spiritual gravitation or material gravitation, that already gives the strongest impression as to the constituent of what gravitation is. Therefore, the laws of nature, which is being referred to here, will basically be the first being that of reciprocal activity, the second being that of the attraction of homogeneous species, and the third being that of spiritual gravitation or of gravitation. These are the three laws of nature which supports the activities in creation, in the creation of a balance of states, a balance of activities. However, no individual should take it for granted, but must examine this very thoroughly. For only in weighing and examining, only in that will the individual strengthen itself in deeds, in thoughts, and also in its intuition. For the process of weighing and examining in accordance with these laws, the individual draws to itself unconsciously the powers that open up more aspects. The individual then moves in circles where is able to perceive more. Then the whole of nature, the whole of creation becomes very clear to it. It can now see the aims and objectives of nature, of spirituality, and all that exists in creation, and its own purpose of its existence.
Thanks very much, Gregory, for this I'm going to say detailed picture of the laws of nature. You mentioned them at the beginning, laws of motion, and then you brought it to that there are three laws uh, that you can see not only in the material world, but they're also in the spiritual world. They're universal, actually. Um, um, and they are given, like you say, uh, given detailed picture in the Grail message itself. Um, so we can really understand them properly, and that is how you can explain events that are happening in the world. You know, everything happens within these laws. So it's really essential to know these laws. So thank you for that. Now, Gregory, there's another thing. There's so many points because we're talking about the topic tonight is truth is objective, you know, and yet there's so many things uh, we are told, let's say, to believe or to accept. But then it's like, how can you really accept them or believe them when you haven't really a way to test it, you can say. So another one I want to talk about now is we are told that there is life after death. Now, there aren't really people, or let's say that you hear, who have gone to death and then come back. So to show that, oh, what is happening after this death? So many people just say, oh, death is the end. But then there's others where we are told that there's a life after death. So Gregory, again, how do we know what is really true here?
That's another very pertinent question. The errors have always been that the individual is always in a hurry to find out what it has not yet been to. It knows, or one may assume, it accepts that it has been born on earth. It has the physical body that it uses. So that in itself is a fact that it cannot deny. For many, they know that what is referred to as death is a cessation of the activities of the physical body. And therefore, that being the case, the physical body, which was built out of the biological unions of many different elements, falls back to its constituents. It may take a long time. Some other people are cremated, so you just have ashes. That in itself is also a fact. The question which has not been examined or weighed carefully is what held together the physical body before the individual was born. When one examines very carefully, one will find that prior to the incarnation of the individual, that which makes use of the physical body which is being prepared in the womb of its mother, that in itself cannot be of the physical. However, human personalities always already know about energy. They have done all sort of calculations and they know of energy, the conservation of energy and all that. These have been dealt with in the sciences. So there's no doubt about that. However, what has been lacking is the connection between that energy we are dealing with the physical body of man. Now, there are two types of energy. And what is referred to as energy in the sciences is also referred to as spirit in the non-sciences. So energy is spirit. But there are two types of energy, or like two types of spirit. That energy or that spirit which has the capacity of consciousness, and that which lacks the capacity of consciousness. That which has the capacity of consciousness can further be categorized or classified as that which has the capacity of consciousness and that which has the capacity of self-consciousness. Of the capacity of self-consciousness, that is where the human personality falls in. It is that energy, that spirit spark, that energy spark, that energy container, which is capable of further evolution in its states through experiences. That is what incarnates through its capacity in the womb of the prospective mother to make use of the body which is being prepared for it in order to experience. So, before it incarnated in the womb of the prospective mother, it already existed. Even the sciences confirm that energy cannot be created nor destroyed, but may be changed from one form to the other. Common sense logically says if energy cannot be created, it means it's already there. However, it can undergo evolution, a change of states through experiencing for those energy sparks, for those spirit sparks which have to undergo further maturity, albeit further evolution. Therefore, as at the time the human personality is born to the earth to experience, is at a given state of maturity. It already existed. So, why must there be any confusion? What happens thereafter when the human spirit has spent his time here on earth in experiencing. By the time it drops the physical body, it has, to a large extent, gathered some experiences which will help it to mature to another level. So the question of asking, um, or of making the statement when the person is dead, it's all over. Only the physical body falls back to its constituents. Whereas that spark, that energy spark, which one may refer to as the spirit spark, that makes use through its capabilities, that makes use of the physical body, which was already there, will continue to exist. As to the details of how, where, and when the human persons who is seeking diligently may examine again and again the work in the light of truth, the Grail message of Abraham. But the weighing must be done in such a way that is impersonal, must put aside all preconceived notions. In that case, the individual will be led from one step to another, like a parent will guide his child that has just been born through maturity, and it gets to the place where it will take its first steps. It will then come to the personal conviction of the workings, of the perfect workings of these laws of creation, which are embedded in the activities of man, that are embedded in creation, of which the human personality is the lever that permits it to experience and to come to a maturity and to return to its origin, which origin is this spiritual realm from whence it started, first as an unconscious spirit germ. And in the process of maturity and experiencing, the human form was first developed. And in moving further, in striving to become self-conscious, it has further refined this physical body here on earth, and that it continues to exist here or hereafter. The further details may be examined through the work, not only the case in which one uses the work in the light of truth, the Grail message, but also actual the actual teachings of Christ as he himself gave it.
Thanks again, Gregory, for this detailed picture you have given in you could say, the journey of the human beings development uh, and which starts not on this earth, but in the spiritual world. And so the earth is only part of our time, of our life. And let's say most of us think, oh, this earth life, this is the one, the only one. And the most important things, is all about this earth life. And yet it's only part of our life. So it's really important to, discover this world that we live in, how little we know about it. So thank you for that. Now, Gregory, all throughout this show, we've been telling people, there's a framework, there's a context where things happen in this life. Yes, there's the world of matter, the physical world that we are very familiar with. Then we also know there are world of thoughts, and there's also the world of intuition, which are going outside of this world of physical world. And most of the time, as I've said, we are not focusing on beyond that in the physical world. And basically every explanation and answer you've given, you have been looking beyond this physical world, because that is a part of the life and existence. And of course, the answers, they're all logical in giving explanation. And my next question really is, this understanding of life, of course, we have science, but it's limited, let's say. It doesn't give the full picture. And so I'm wondering, and when we talk about the truth, giving the story of who we are, our purpose, and so on, it goes beyond this physical world of matter. So how do we, Gregory, what can I say, what tools can we use to make sense or grasp this, life's journey, which is not just the physical world that we live? Is what tools can we use? You've mentioned the five senses, and earthly senses that we are aware, but they are limited to the earthly. What do we need to really grasp this world life that we are, that is beyond the earthly?
Again, thanks for that question. The mention of the five senses, that applies to that which is external. That which is external, through which information, through which impressions, outside impressions, may filter in to one's frontal brain and the thoughts of men. One can also do some analysis there. And subsequently, these experiences, these external experiences, needs to be passed on to the back brain, to be radiated to the back brain, which then subsequently sends it to the spirit. That which is of the spirit, the tool which the spirit uses, is the intuitive perception of the individual. the intuitive perception of the individual, which it uses for experiencing once it has left the physical body. But whilst here on earth, the spirit is united, or there is a union between the spirit and the physical body, such that the outside experiences can be passed on to the spirit via the intuitive perception, or inbound to the intuitive, to the spirit via the intuitive perception. Also, activities of the spirit can be passed outbound to the back brain, then to the frontal brain, and then can be expressed outwards, as you find in the case of music. So it becomes very clear that the union of the spirit to the physical body is only a temporal thing. For the physical body seem to have been constructed in which you have a temporary union. After some time, could be 10, 20, 100 or 200 years maximum, whatever, the spirit severs itself and journeys further for further experiences in the realm through which it has found itself in accordance with its maturity, which it has acquired, also in accordance with the laws of creation, through which it itself came into existence. So it is the intuitive perception that the human spirit needs to use, to experience, once it has severed itself from the physical body, because the physical body is no more active. Therefore, that is the tool that it uses. But whilst here on earth, it uses both.
Thanks a lot, Gregory, for that answer. We need all this, how can I say, understanding, if we are truly to grasp this truth. So now, listeners, we come to the end of the show, and I hope you've enjoyed the discussion on the topic of truth is objective. I'm going to just, to finish off, to read a short, it's the first part of the Grail message, which is titled, For Your Guidance. The bandage falls, and belief becomes conviction. Liberation and redemption lie only in conviction. I'm addressing earnest seekers only. They must be able and willing to examine this matter objectively. Religious fanatics and irresponsible enthusiasts may hold aloof, for they are detrimental to the truth. As for the malevolent and prejudiced, they shall find their sentence in the very words. The message will strike only those who still carry within them a spark of truth and the yearning to be true human beings. To all such, it will become the shining light and star. It will lead them unswervingly out of all the chaos of the present day confusion. The following word does not bring a new religion, but is intended as the torch to help all serious listeners or readers find the right path, which leads them to the longed for height. Only he who bestirs himself can advance spiritually. The fool who uses extraneous aids for this, in the form of ready-made opinions of others, only walks his path as if on crutches, while ignoring his own healthy limbs. But the moment he boldly uses all the abilities that lie dormant within him, awaiting his call to help in his ascent, he is employing the talent entrusted to him in accordance with his Creator's will, and will easily overcome all obstacles that seek to divert him. Therefore, awake. Genuine faith lies only in conviction, and conviction comes solely through an inflexible weighing and examining. See that you are truly alive in the wonderful creation of your God. Appreciation. Dear listeners, if you want to know more about the Grail message or want to get a copy of the Grail message for yourself, you can go to this website, www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that, www.grail, that's Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. And dear listeners, we'll be back as usual next Tuesday with another topic for discussion, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. Before we go, I'll just ask Gregory, is there anything you'd like to say to the listeners to say goodbye?
Wishing listeners a very beautiful week ahead.
Thank you. Same here for me, listeners. Have a beautiful week ahead. As I said, we'll be back next Tuesday. Take care. Good night and God bless. Bye.